If you ask me, I don't think there has been one single BMW M5 that has been bad looking. My personal favorites are the E53 4.6 and the 4.8 liter with that sumo stance with super massive wide tires. If I made a redesign of that, it would probably be the first car that I don't have to adjust or add some width to the rear tires because they're massive. Looks really good. So we have a new X5 for 2024, and this is sort of a facelift because the proportions are exactly the same as the previous generation X5, and a lot of the changes are happening underneath the body. So with the powertrains, you now have electric assistance in the transmission and the engines, making for a lot smoother drive. And I think that's a good idea, how to use electricity in internal combustion cars. I made a video on this talking generally about the design on my second channel. You can go and check that out in the description below. I'm gonna link that video there. But in this video, we're gonna focus on the front end. You know, I think this is a good looking design. It's a nice transformation from the previous pre-facelift, just having some minor changes to the graphics of the car. I can show you that real quick here. So the proportions are exactly the same. This down here is the 2024, and up here is the pre-facelift. So same kind of proportions, but brand new graphics, specifically in the lower part of this, and also in the side view. You can't really tell the difference between these two. We have this silver piece at the bottom, which I think isn't as well integrated as the previous integration of that air vent here in the 2023 model. In the rear view though, we have new taillight graphics, which I think looks great because they have some dynamic feeling in them, which has been lacking a lot in BMW graphics lately. It's a lot of horizontal lines, parallel lines, no movement either side or up or down in the graphics, or also in some models also in the proportions of the car. But I think this is a good looking design. So what I want to do is work on this, the front end. If I'm honest with myself, I think the previous pre-facelift up here looks better than the new one down here. But also keep in mind that this is not the M Sport package. This is just the normal X5, which I think the M Sport package, for example, we're gonna have hopefully a blacked out grille and these interesting trim pieces that are silver down here, hopefully also removed altogether or blacked out in the M Sport package, which will be unveiled later on. But what I'm gonna change here is, you see we have a lot of static movement in the lower part. We have this line, and then we have this line, and also these side lines. So it feels like there were two boxes in the lower part of the design. And another thing that I want to add in the redesign is, if we look at the bottom of this design, and if we look at the bottom of this too, it doesn't have a clear foundation for the front end to build upon. And what I mean by that is having some sort of body colored piece or lip going along the very end point of the front end. I really like to have that in bigger cars, bigger sedans and bigger SUVs. I think it creates as I said, a foundation for or a platform for the front end to be built upon. And then you can do whatever you want above that pretty much. So what I'm gonna do is add a lip down here to have this foundation. Gonna remove this, and I don't understand these triangular corners that BMW is doing currently with a lot of their models. The new 2 Series have this as well. It just doesn't look good because it's a triangle in the middle of a lot of soft surfaces. It clashes super hard with the rest of the body lines. So I'm gonna remove that, probably just remove this piece and remove this trim piece as well, make this black, and also this intake, I want to have that be a little bigger, so maybe be something like this, go out to this point, so we have a clear side intake in this front end as well. Looking at the headlights, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to static design in BMWs. Looking at the taillights, they look great because we have different thicknesses. It goes from thick here here to thinner here, and creates a movement, and it feels more dynamic than the front headlights, which are essentially just the same width all over and also parallel lines. And same width and parallel lines totally destroys the automotive emotional design in not just the graphics but also in overall proportions and line flows in cars. Overall, I think the proportions are great because they are the same proportions as the previous one, but with the graphics, I think we can work a lot with the front end graphics of the new X5 and see what comes out. So I'm gonna let this redesign roll and then come back at the end of it and let you know exactly what happened and explain all the details. Alright guys, so here we have the redesign that I just did, pretty quick redesign today. So let me show you exactly what happened here and why I made these changes. First of all the silver trim pieces that we have going all the way around the windows and the front end, the grills, I blacked those out. That was the first thing I did, which I think BMW is going to offer further down the line when it comes to the M Sport package or whatever packages they're gonna offer later on. And then, as I said, having this intake be a little larger, I think it's going to balance out the big grille. So now we have two large, or actually three large intakes in the front end, which I think it just creates a nice balance of graphic features in the front end, having them be similarly sized, if that makes sense. And of course, this front lower bumper, I want to have this triangle be deleted, and I did that here. As you can see, no triangle going up here, instead just having a straight line, which I think suits the X5 because it leans towards this bigger siblings in BMW's X lineup. You have the X1, X2, X3, and then X5, X7, so it is supposed to be a little bit more stately than the smaller siblings, and that helps having horizontal lines like we have right here. And then we have the base at the bottom as well, creating this foundation for the BMW X5. I also angled the headlights a little bit down this way, so they sat something like this, and I just angled them down to have them more in line with the top line of the grills here, and I think that looks also helps with the stateliness of this design.